Okay, so this is the last video of these three, and boy, am I glad of it. This is the revolutionary period. Um, this was tough, man. So the historical events I've got are obviously the obvious. The French Revolution um, took place in France and its colonies from 1789 to 1799. People rose up, overthrew the monarchy, established a republic. They executed the monarchs, Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette. Eventually, Napoleon and some others staged a coup d'etat. Napoleon ended up becoming, the dictator of France after that. And then there was the American Revolution. Actually happened before the French, but 1765 to 1783. British colonists got tired of taxation without representation, got tired of having British soldiers they'd have to house, uh, wanted to be able to maintain their own, purchase their own lands, just got tired of being ruled by a faraway monarchy. Um, you know, so the Declaration of Independence and the war with the British ended up in independence from the British Empire, establishing um, the Articles of Confederation, then the Constitution, um, eventually led to the great republic that we have today. Then the Haitian Revolution took place from 1791 to 1804. I know that's terrible, but that's what I got. So now going into philosophy, religious ideas. Okay, church had this. England had the established Church of England. Uh, a lot of these American ideas were tied to. I think that this revolutionary period is a very short period, right? That we're talking about here, and there's a lot of overlap in enlightenment. I've had trouble with overlap all three of these chapters, trying to determine exactly what I'm supposed to declare as being in each period. But so it seems that the culmination of these ideas of individual liberty and you know representative democracy, republic, uh, the establishment of reason and uh, religious tolerance and individual freedoms. You know, these ideas established by Locke and Paine, Voltaire, and it all culminated. It grew through that Enlightenment period. It's like that's when they were packing the gunpowder, right, into the cannon. And then all of a sudden it all exploded. You know, the people eventually rose up, man, and, decided that these were going to be the ideas moving forward for the world. There were revolutions in Spain and Russian revolutions and the British, the Haitians, the French, all these free thinking, forward, enlightened thinkers, plus the oligarchy and the absolute monarchies crap. People were done with that. It was time for people to be able to make their own way in this world by the sweat of their brow, be able to keep the things that they earned. To have a say in what the government did. It's that whole social contract idea. All those ideas from the Enlightenment got put into place in the revolutionary period that we're talking about, and it changed the world. Eventually all the stuff that people were, the Republic of Letters and all those things, those ideas eventually came to fruition. It's like things that couldn't be unlearned by the people. And eventually the people, are going to make themselves heard, and, it's a beautiful thing. I think that I don't know. I'm glad I'm post Enlightenment generation, right? So I had a very hard time picking out anything specifically revolutionary as far as ideas go. Um, Same thing with art, right? So the art forms. Everybody was too busy with these ideas of the Enlightenment. They were too busy putting these ideas into place and taking control of their world based on reason. And so it's like art kind of took a back seat during this period. What I've got is it's far as painting, I got John Trumbull, right? Call him the painter of the Revolution. Born in Connecticut, father was the governor of Connecticut. He attended Harvard. As a child, he lost the use of one of his eyes. Just an interesting fact. He served in the Revolutionary War as the what's the word, aide de camp of General George Washington. And it's his work that I envision when I start thinking about the Revolutionary War. These pictures that I've been shown in history books all throughout my life of Cornwallis surrendering and Washington resigning and his military commission, and of course the Declaration of Independence, which hangs in the rotunda. He's got four paintings that hang in the rotunda. That painting of the Declaration of Independence gathering, in Independence Hall, that's on the back of the $2 bill. Um, he also painted this particular portrait of George Washington that I've been seeing all my life. It's famous. It probably hangs in the Capitol building as well, but it's that picture of Washington that you always see on furniture commercials when they animate the mouth like, let me show you again, like Monty Python, right? Talking about President's Day sales. So it's that famous picture of Washington. And again, it's overlapping, right? Some of it, the styling of the art and the subject matter seems to coincide with the same stuff I talked about in the Enlightenment, the smooth, the sharp lines and smooth coloring without brushstrokes and, logical representations of the world, right? And history, industrial stuff. Anyway, so John Trumbull, one artist I got. The other art form. I'm looking into this period, right? What do I find? I find silversmithing, right? Paul Revere, that's the next artist I'm going to use. So he was a silversmith. We know he's famous for that ride he made, and he was a revolutionary kind of guy, right? And his brothers of the Revolution, or whatever the hell that organization was. But so he was born in Boston. He learned silversmithing from his father. His father came from France. Um, he focused mainly on, but as a silversmith, he didn't do like a bunch of ornate custom stuff. He was a businessman, wanted to rise up in the gentry class. He was looking to be, that guy. So, again, a revolutionary concept, right? Enlightenment thinking. He was looking to amass wealth and property, right? The pursuit of life, liberty, property, right? We turned it into the pursuit of happiness, but originally these ideas were about the ability to amass wealth and property. So anyway, so he turned his silversmith operation, really he was focused on mass producing stuff. He put in these roll machines where he would roll the silver, giving you a consistent thickness. And so he was mass producing. He eventually got into iron casting methods and began to do that. He made bells, but he was also an engraver and a painter. He did a bunch of painting. He did some paintings, nothing really good. I found a bunch of like family crests and seals that he did, which is kind of cool. His most famous engraving that I didn't realize was Paul Revere's was that picture of the Boston Massacre that I've been again seeing in history books since I was a wee lad, right? Of the British soldiers lining up, firing into the crowd. Five people were killed. One of them was Crispus Attucks, who was an African American, newly freed slave. He had been free about 20 years, and he got killed in that. So he was the first. They say, I guess what I remember is he was the first American casualty of the Revolutionary War. Was a black man, Crispus Attucks. So Paul Revere did that famous engraving of that attack. The third art form, I came up with furniture making. Right, I think that is. I built cabinets for 8 years. I was a carpenter by trade for a long time after that. Um, so this colonial period of furniture making, which was in the late 1700s up into the early 1800s, there were these what we call colonial pieces, these chairs with sharply defined claw feet and the elaborate backs, right, with the interesting shapes, really beautiful stuff, mahogany and maple. Uh, I've got Nathaniel Gould, who was a Salem cabinet maker. Some of the armoires he made, absolutely incredible, as far as cabinets go, and all that kind of this colonial period, this revolutionary era. Furniture was being made by guys like Nathaniel Gould in New England, but it actually, most of it, they were stealing from the British English furniture makers in the style of what they termed the style eventually Chippendale, after Thomas Chippendale, who was a British cabinet maker and furniture maker, um, who's, I guess they say that he was the first style of furniture, which he did stuff that they considered to be Gothic and Rococo, ornately carved chairs, especially. You see a lot of that when you start looking it up, but it was the first style of furniture that wasn't named after royalty, like Victorian or Elizabethan, or this was Chippendale, was the, which is pretty cool. So that shows you a little bit more about how these ideas were changing and the world over. Revolutionary ideas, enlightened thought based on reason, and gone were the days of the absolute monarchy. Today we have monarchies in those places, but it's really just a figurehead. I've never really understood it. I've never had to live under that type of rule, um, and I'm glad of it. So that's what I got for the Revolutionary period. Thank you.